This podcast is part of the C-Suite Radio Network, turning the volume up on business.
Welcome to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us as Deb talks with her guests, experts in their fields, as they share real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today, I love it when I have repeat guests on because we have so much fun, but it also means that they are truly experts in their field and they know what they are talking about. And it was funny, before the program started, we were trying to remember how long we've known each other, and we were both, I think, 6 years old when we met.
Yeah, we were children. We must have been children, almost prenatal.
I know,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and working for other people, doing other things. But so it's been really fun to watch how your career has progressed. And and we have had you on the program several times, and I am so delighted to have the wonderful, the fabulous David Avrin on our program again. So welcome, David.
Deb, thank you so much. Great to be here. Great to be part of this. It is fun kind of to look back because everybody grows up in business. And I think that's part of the important things about programs like this is that we all started somewhere.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, don't compare your chapter 2 to my chapter 12 because we were all at a chapter 2. And you and I were in our chapter 1s and 2s together almost 30 years ago.
I know. Like I said, we were 6.
Must have been.
So great. Well, for those who aren't familiar with you, let me tell people just a little bit about you. So one of the most in-demand marketing and customer experience keynote speakers in the world today, David Avrin, CSP, is known as the visibility coach. With a surprisingly irreverent and entertaining style, David delivers a profoundly insightful and hard-hitting message to business audiences across North America and around the world. David is the author of the celebrated, and look, I'm such a fangirl, It's Not Who You Know, It's Who Knows You, Visibility Marketing, and of course his new book, which is
his brand new book.
I know, the new one. Here is what we're really going to be talking about today: why customers leave and how to get them back. So again, David, welcome.
Thanks. It's been fun. The book came out in the last couple of months. And of course, these podcasts, we want them to be a little bit evergreen.
Right.
But I'm having the time of my life because I think this is the most, you and I have known each other for a long time. This is the most me of anything that I've done because I think I'm really a passionate advocate for those in business. I am not just a cheerleader, but I am that person prodding them, saying, do this better.
Right.
And I spent 20 years helping clients and audiences and organizations build their business, build their audience, drive traffic, drive visibility, only to find that so many of them, pardon my language, just turn around and piss off their customers inadvertently in their effort to be predictable and have processes and systems that are consistent. What we've lost is a sense of flexibility and accommodation. And in turn, we are driving customers away in droves.
Right.
And so that was the thinking behind the new book, Why Customers Leave. And I'm traveling the world spreading the message.
Well, it's a great book. I read it and
Thank you.
love some of the.
You're the one.
I'm the one.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it was, in all the circumstances, there was the first, kind of that, well, duh, why are people screwing up? And then, but then I go, oh, I do that too.
Yeah.
And it's really, in many cases, simple, basic reasons why we're driving customers away. But let's kind of step back a little bit because this is not about customer service.
It's not.
It's about customer experience. So tell us the difference.
Right. And getting back to what you were saying before, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Right.
And we have to balance that efficiency and predictability and being smart with our resources and what our customers would love. And there is a significant difference between the customer service. I think we know that, Deb. Haven't we talked about it for 30 years?
Yeah.
The service with a smile, we get that. Doesn't mean that everybody delivers it on a consistent basis. But I don't think anybody needs somebody to go and read a book on how to treat people well.
Right.
Customer experience is different. There's been a real shift in mindset, in learning and understanding and appreciation for why customers make the decisions that they do. And as we look at, as organizations, as small business owners, how do we look at every point of contact along that customer's journey? From the first moment that they decide that they're looking for a resource, where do they go? Maybe they go on Google.
Right.
Who do they find? How easy is it to find information? I mean, one of the biggest atrocities, and I talk about this in the book, is the biggest mistake I think that companies make is they make it hard to reach them.
Right.
Hard to do
in a
business.
variety of ways.
It boggles my mind. And I ask audiences, because I'm all over the world. Last week I was in Bogota, Colombia, and I ask audiences, I said, you ever go to a website, you need to ask a question, or you have a challenge or a problem, and you cannot find a freaking phone number anywhere. You know that they made a conscious decision that we are not going to allow our customers to call us.
Right.
We are not going to allow our customers to email us directly, because we want a predictable path, or we don't want to be taken off task by those pesky customers.
We have a contact form.
Oh my gosh, the word, it is, if there is something evil in business, Deb, it's the contact form. But understand that they approach this with the best of intentions.
Right.
They're not trying to be mean or to be subversive, or what they want is, they say, listen, if we put a contact form, we'll be able to capture their information. We will be able to, maybe we can pre-qualify them. If we're a real estate company.
Specific.
Right. We can pre-qualify. Are you looking to buy now? What's your budget? We'll have all this information. It'll be brilliant. Here's the problem. The problem is we don't want to fill out your form.
Right.
We just wanted to talk to a person, and you wouldn't let us. I love this line, and I love this line because it's my line. The contact form is the answering machine of the internet. How often do you, I mean, imagine you have to fix a sprinkler head in your lawn, and you go on Craigslist, and you call the first one on the list, and you get an answering machine or voicemail, right? Sorry, I'm working out in the field. Leave a message. Do you leave a message? Nobody does. You just call the next one.
Right.
And the next one. What businesses don't understand is their contact form is like an answering machine, and they have no idea the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars they lost because somebody just left and they didn't fill out the form, they didn't provide information, and they just went somewhere else.
Right.
Because company restricted access. That's the experience. To go back to your question about the differences, how do we experience doing business? And as customers, how do we judge that? How do we rate that? Was that preferable? Was it obstructive? Was it something I would want to repeat? Was it something that I would want to talk to somebody else about? And we kind of get head down in our business about trying to be really good at what we do, which is important, but it's just the entry fee. It's how your customers experience doing business with you at every point of contact will determine whether they'll be back.
Right. You know, and the premise of the book is that we're driving people away, obviously, and we don't even know it. I mean, that's the bad part. You know, we're losing all of these people, all of these potential customers, potential clients, you know, whatever they are, and we don't even know that we've lost them.
Right.
You know,
that's the biggest part. I say the biggest source of lost revenue for every business is the customer or client or prospect that they never knew about. I mean, it's bad enough the ones that they've driven away, but the ones that didn't, they drove by and they didn't stop. Right. They came in and they left without being engaged, or they called on the phone and they hung up because they didn't want to deal with your voicemail system, or they went to your website and they clicked away. And you have no idea how many of those. So my premise, of course, is if we can take a step back, look at our organization, our business, even small or large, with a magnifying glass, fix some of those things on the front end, we can recapture a lot of that.
Right.
And generally, even if it takes a little bit extra resources to make it more preferable to do business with us, it will be more than offset by the additional business that we can get. But it's hard to quantify people you didn't know about.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is the hard part. If they, you know, if we don't know they exist, it's hard to know, oh my gosh, we lost 10 customers today. We lost, you know, all these various things. At least, you know, sometimes in a physical business, you see people come in and walk back out.
Right.
You know, but again, maybe you missed the people that didn't see your sign, that couldn't find you on Google. You know, all of these various things. And it's, it's kind of, maybe it's a housekeeping issue to go through and make sure that some of these things are right.
Yeah, but part of it, Deb, I like what you said when you said that we don't even see it, but some can see it. Like, here's a strategy.
Mhm.
If you have a frontline person, whether it's a receptionist, whether it's a host or a hostess or a frontline server, or somebody working the front desk, do you have a mechanism in place in your business to document every time you have to say no?
Right.
Like, what request did you get that we couldn't fulfill? Are we telling management? I sat, when I was doing research for this book, and it's anecdotal research, I would sit and watch, and I would record ideas. And I sat, and I was at a Chili's restaurant in Chicago O'Hare, Chili's 2, very transient because people are coming and going. And I watched this dynamic, and it turns out to be the number one question asked at airport restaurants. And I asked people all the time, I said, what do you think? Well, one is how long? People say, do you have gluten-free? You know what the number one question is by far? Do you have a seat next to an electrical outlet? Number one, by far. Everybody wants to charge their phone or their computers. And so I sat there and I watched person after person. And I was up by the hostess station. Do you have any seats? Oh, we only have 2 out seats without, they're taken. The person would leave. Next person would leave. And over the course of an hour, I watched like 31 people come and go.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, the revenue from 3 of those people could have rewired the place and put outlets. But do you think that hostess is telling their manager, we're losing half our, she doesn't care.
No.
She doesn't care.
Right.
And so these are kind of the blind spots that I think some of the companies have, which is, how do your customers want to do business with you? Are you accommodating? Or, as I said, are you obstructive? Look at every point and say, could we do it better or faster or more engaging or more memorably or more facilitated or less facilitated?
Right.
But are we asking those questions instead of focusing on just being good? I speak everywhere, and I sometimes the CEO will go on before me or do the welcome for the conference. And I hear this all the time. CEOs get in front of their companies going, folks, listen, at the end of the day, it's still about quality.
Right.
And I put my hand in my face and I'm like, oh my God, he actually believes that. Because the reality is quality is incredibly important.
Right.
Not the end of the day, at the beginning of the day.
Right.
It's about quality. Quality is the entry fee. You better be good. At the end of the day, it's about competitive advantage.
Right.
What do we do better than others? And my assertion, we can deliver a better experience.
Right. And in many cases, we take the easy way out. Like the restaurant, we don't want to, it's hard to wire every table. Now, granted, some tables aren't going to have it because they, or it would be a little more difficult, say, for a central table, but you could easily wire all the tables along a perimeter, but you don't want to. But more importantly, they're thinking, we don't want somebody coming in and taking up a table. Yeah,
I heard that one. That's a good one.
Or ordering something simple, and it's like, okay, well, maybe they only come in and order a glass of iced tea, but then they sat there for a while and then they ordered an entree. And more importantly, they told their friends, oh my gosh, when you're in the airport, you need to go past Chili's because you can get good food and you can charge your phone.
Right.
Simple. But they were thinking, no, we don't want people coming in and sitting and taking up a table.
And you're likely right. And here's the thing, and I make this clear in the book, because I didn't expect everybody. One of the things I think if you're agreeable to everyone, or if you are, I'm trying to think how that goes. If you are acceptable to everyone, you aren't exceptional to anyone. So I wrote this figure, I'm going to ruffle a few feathers. I tell businesses all the time, you can do business your way. Absolutely, it's your choice. Just know that you will lose customers because of it, and you have every right to do that. And that may be, Deb, that may be their calculus for restaurants. But I'll give you a better example at a restaurant, because you talked about them sort of taking the easy way. So a young woman's with her friends. She orders a chicken Caesar salad. And she says, can I get shrimp instead of chicken? I know she got shrimp. Oh, sorry, we don't do menu substitution. You know why?
Says right there, no substitutions.
Yeah, why? You know why? Because they don't want to. The cook doesn't want to. And I'm like, I don't care what the cook wants to do. So here's my admonition to business owners. My God, give her shrimp. Just charge her a few extra bucks. She'll be fine. Because what's the alternative? Right. That's exactly right, Deb. The alternative is not giving her what she wants. And then she leaves. She doesn't come back. Or worse yet, she goes on social media and she complains about you.
Right.
when the easiest thing to do is just accommodate. Now, here's the argument I get, and it's the slippery slope one. And the argument is, well, if we do it for her, we have to do it for everybody. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Most people don't ask for changes.
Exactly right. Just do it for the people who ask, if you can, because most people won't ask. And that's such a lazy argument.
Right.
Is, well, if we do it for them, we have to. You don't, because most people won't ask for an accommodation. But you know what customers love? Is when you're flexible, when you'll accommodate.
Yeah.
But that scares business owners, which is why the work that I do, whether I'm speaking or I'm consulting and doing full day sessions, is it's really scary because we interview candidates, right? And we ask them questions, and we want to know about their background, and we want to screen them, and then we ask them, give me an example of a difficult situation. How did you handle that? And then as soon as we hire them, we neuter them.
Right. Yeah. You can't deal with that.
Yeah. Now just quote policies. And I'm not a big fan of policies. I understand them, but I love guidelines.
Right.
Why don't we spend some time teaching our people good decision making?
Right.
And God forbid they may make a bad decision, but they also might make really good decisions.
Right. Well, and most of the time, a bad decision can be fixed. I mean, you know, it's not like it's going to get somebody hurt, sick, you know, something like that. Might cost you something, you know, but usually you can fix it.
But how many customers are we going to annoy or frustrate or drive away with our striving to be predictable? Because here's what companies do, and I understand it, and this is why at the end of every chapter of the book, I do sort of why you do it, why we hate it, and a better approach. But the why you do it is my way of letting them a little bit off the hook. Like, I understand why you have the policy. Here's the unintended consequences. And so what businesses have tried to do, certainly in recent years, is to create what we talk about as the franchise model. If we can have standardization in policies and procedures, and behaviors, we can have a greater predictability of that customer journey.
Right.
They'll do this, then they'll do this, then we will do this. And here will be the greater predictability, outcome, revenue, profits, et cetera. The challenge, of course, is that we aren't all the same. And that sometimes our questions, our requests, our desires don't fit into that training. And in yesteryear, well, if you don't fit, then you're probably not the best choice. But today, people who are unhappy, they go online and they complain.
Right.
We grew up in business with what we used to call guest relations philosophy. And it went like this. And everybody listening or watching this right now grew up with this in business. And they've heard some variation of this. The person with a positive experience will tell 2 or 3 people, but somebody with a negative experience will tell 10, right? Some version of that. Today, Deb, none of that is true.
Right.
Now we tell thousands.
Right.
Now
because
we tell
post on Instagram,
millions,
Facebook, whatever.
Exactly. And so what people worry about, they're going to tell 10 people. No, you need to worry about the millions of people that they're going to tell about how there's a neighborhood restaurant here, an Italian restaurant, I won't name them, where I live just south of Denver. And somebody had a bad experience and they went online, posted, and people piled on for months. And they never addressed it. And ultimately they went out of business. And it's a scary time to be in business.
Right.
But the only solace is that this affects your competitors as well.
Right. Yeah. You know, they get nailed too. And of course that is, you know, that's the one thing when, you know, like when I'm talking with businesses and telling them you really need to be on social media, you know, depending on the platform, all those various things.
Sure.
And many times I get the, but what if they say something bad?
Yeah.
And I tell them, well, you know what? Somebody probably already is, you know, and it might even be about the wrong business. I love those.
You want to make sure you're at least part of the conversation.
Yeah, you want to try and fix it, you know, and we're creatures of habit, you know, and you talk about this in the book where, you know, we're getting ready to go to a new restaurant, a new hotel, a new whatever. We go to Yelp, we go to TripAdvisor, all these various things, and we look to see what other people said, you know, and then I also look at the response. Did it even get a response? Did it get a cut and paste response? I hate those. I'm like, don't even bother. If you're just saying, thank you so much for your comment. But yeah, I want to see what they responded. And I want it to be a personal response. And especially if there was something negative. We traveled last week. We went to down to Perry, Georgia for some dog shows. We're staying in a new hotel. So I looked up Yelp to see what they had. And you know, they got typical hotels. I mean, you get people who rave about it. Somebody stays the same day and they think it's the most horrible place in the world.
Right.
And the responses were personal. I mean, whoever wrote them read it, and responded. And there were even a couple, and of course, this is the one that most business owners just absolutely cringe at. They said, contact us and we'll give you they didn't say full refund, but they said a partial refund. Of course, business, oh, no, we can't give money back. But most of the time, people aren't going to they just wanted to vent and they wanted to be heard. And, if it's, it's a substantial refund, sure, I might really, but yeah, just to be told, hey, you know what, we're really sorry and we want to make it right. What can we do?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Yeah.
The issue is I think you're right. It's being part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's being active in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
For so long, for so many decades, the real differentiators, it's what most companies still say, what makes you special? It's a quality. It's
right.
it's convenient. It's people. It's caring. It's trust. It's all of those things. But those are pedestrian. Being
right.
really good at what you do today is the entry fee.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be engaged. You
Yeah.
have to be present. If they're having conversations online, you need to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a mechanism to listen to what those who are complaining. Not only do you have to treat them with respect and address their concerns, but you have to fix the problems.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There are points of contact that are frustrating to people. A lot of our policies and procedures we put in place, honestly, to make life easier for us and our team.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been a pendulum shift towards employee-centric organizations. And here's the narrative, and I don't know that I buy it. And the narrative is, if we treat our people well and treat them with respect, they in turn will treat our customers well. And I don't know that necessarily. Now, listen, I absolutely advocate treat your people incredibly well.
Yes, must treat your
It doesn't
people
necessarily go to prove that they're going to treat others well. And what I get is simplistic responses. So I'll talk to organizational leaders and they say, oh, we got this down. We got the customer service thing down. I'm like, do you? And they say, yeah, we treat our customers like family. And I always joke, listen, I see how some of you treat your family.
There's some dysfunctional families.
Yeah, that's not always a good thing. But here's the simplistic approach that they've done for 30 years. And the approach was the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done to you. We tell our employees to treat your employees like you want to be treated. But the problem is your customers your customers aren't you.
Right.
If you got a 16-year-old boy in the front line of a fast food place, how does he want to be treated?
Right.
He's told, treat him like you. He wants the girls to think he's hot. He wants people to think his hair is cool and people to like his Instagram
He doesn't care if
posts.
he gets his burger cooked the right way.
Right. And he wants his 17-year-old manager to get off his back. How do I want to be treated? I'm the exhausted 55-year-old old dude who's been on 3 airplanes in the last 9 hours. I've got stomach problems. I've got daddy guilt. I'm getting off a plane and my kids are blowing up my phone and saying they're starving. When are you going to be home? Do I want to be treated like he wants to be treated?
No.
I want to be treated like I want to be treated.
Right.
No, it doesn't mean that he knows everything about my life, but we can talk to our people about what we call service empathy. Do we understand that they have a life, that they've got concerns? Chick-fil-A is really good at this. And despite the politics or whatever of the leaders.
When they say it's my pleasure to serve you,
right,
they mean it.
Yeah.
And actually there are times I'll call them on it. What, it wasn't your pleasure? Because sometimes they won't say it.
Right. And then they like, whoa. We go through the drive-through. My kids are like, they're so nice. I'm like, they are nice. They hire for nice. And it is the culture of nice. But they have this great training video. And for those who are listening or watching, go on YouTube and search Chick-fil-A. There's a training video called Every Person Has a Story. And every one of their new employees watches this, and it is powerful. It is brilliant. And it basically just has like a film of people in the restaurant, and they zoom in on people, and there's a little saying that says, just immigrated to the United States, or lost husband to cancer, first Christmas alone, or things like that. And it just gives you sort of a sense that they aren't us.
Right.
Their people really have individual stories. And if we have a level of sensitivity, and even in business for the B2B folks, people have processes that they have people that they have to answer to.
Right.
They have needs and fears and things that they love and things that they hate. And the more we understand, I do a lot of this in sort of the full day sessions I do with clients, of taking them on putting them together and saying, let's look at your ideal customer. What do they need to make a decision?
Right.
What are things that they dislike about buying from your category? Are we aligning our business model with the things that they would love? And that's part of the experience, right? It's how we do what we do. But sometimes we put together our policies and procedures to make life easier for us.
Right.
Somebody, I worked with this gymnastics academy, asked me to come in there, and they had this big sign, no popcorn in the area. I'm like, why? And they said, because it makes a big mess in the viewing area. I went, okay. And they said, well, no, the staff has to clean it up. And I said, okay.
Don't you sweep anyway?
Like, yeah. I'm like, no, listen, I mean, you have a popcorn machine. You're telling,
what are they supposed to do with it?
Well, somebody had a mess and say, they're making a big mess. And so the easiest thing to do, just say no popcorn over here. Well, guess where the parents wanted to be? They bought popcorn. They were telling them they can't eat popcorn that they just sold them. The policy was to make life easier for their team. And the reality is, I think when our people understand the why, like this makes life, our parents want to sit here. It's 90 minutes once a day. They're cavorting with other parents. They get to relax for a minute. They understand it. So twice a day, go in there and vacuum up the popcorn.
Right.
But we have to create our policies and procedures, not to make life easier for our team, but to make life great for our customers.
Right.
Because they pay the bills.
Yeah. And I think that's what many people forget is, we can make it as easy and as simple for our employees as possible. But if nobody's buying it or nobody's becoming a repeat customer, it's not going to work. And I love it when they give them the platitudes to say, because then it's a platitude. And I hate platitudes. I'd rather somebody just tell me, no, we can't do it.
Right.
I was arguing with a big cable company, and we all hear stories about that. And we were having an issue, and the person kept telling me, because I'm trying to be polite and I'm trying to be nice because, it's not their fault that,
right.
And so I'm trying to go through all this stuff. And I, at one point I said, I'm just really frustrated. I understand, ma'am. And I could tell
they're told to say this.
Yes,
I know this must be frustrating.
Yes, I'm a customer too. And the third time they said that, I said, so really you've had this happen? Oh,
yeah. We don't need.
I talked to 3 different people and they said it.
Right. The companies think that the answer is placating us, right? And just, and the reality is, no, just solve the problem.
Right.
I understand it. Because here's the other thing is we say no a little too often. And sometimes they don't realize how often they say no. Sometimes it's,
say no.
Sometimes it's like, oh, sorry, or sorry, you can't bring your drink in here. It's like, really? I have a $7 Starbucks. I'm not going to spill on your nicely folded Gap sweaters. But that 16-year-old was told to tell, sorry, you can't. Well, guess what? So I'm not leaving my $7 coffee.
Right.
So I left and they lost the business. Well, because it's so easy to say no. And listen, and sometimes it has to be no. But I do this exercise. I do an exercise when I'm working with organizations, and I say, take everything that you have to say no to. And sometimes it's sorry, or we can, or we have a policy, and it's got to go into 3 categories. Either we say yes. I'm trying to think exactly how this goes. So we say no because we have to say no. We find a way to say yes, or we give them an alternative. And so what I really love is, and I was at a great hotel, I can't remember which one it was, and here was the answer. It's like, even if there's something had to be no, they say, let me tell you what I can do.
Right.
Right? Because at least no is dismissive. But if I show up and I've just traveled to Dubai and I get in at 8 o'clock in the morning, I know I can't check into my hotel till like 2. But if I have to speak at noon, they can say, listen, we don't have check-in until 2 in the afternoon, but let me tell you what I can do. We have a hospitality suite where if you want to freshen up and you can iron your shirt, whatever else. How brilliant is that? For those that listening, have your people think about all the times you have to say no. Either find a way to say yes and accommodate if you can, but have your team brainstorm alternatives. If you have to say no, let me tell you what I can do. Right? Customers love that. And what do we love? We love customers.
Right.
And that's why they come back.
Right. Well, and one of the things you talk about in the book is sometimes when we have to say no, and we're giving an alternative, we can give an alternative to someone else. I can't do that, but and you mentioned in your book, people ask you to speak, and sometimes they ask you to speak about topics that aren't what you talk about.
Right. And I won't do that.
Right. And I know speakers who will say, I'll talk about anything, whatever they want me, because they want that money, hello. But, the problem is they're not going to do a good job at that. And so, that's totally different. But if they had someone that they could say, you know what, that's not what I am skilled in. However, here is someone I can refer you to, or, here's 3 people that I can refer you to. You made everybody happy.
Absolutely.
And
this is
people
for
say,
people
oh
who
my
are
God,
playing the
it's giving
long
away
game.
business.
Right.
No.
Play the long game.
Mm-hmm.
Support others in business.
Right.
I love the idea that says the behavior that's recognized and rewarded is the behavior that's repeated.
Mm-hmm.
You refer to somebody else, they're going to refer back.
Right.
Sometimes the best thing you can do is turn down business that you're not qualified and give it to somebody who can. And it is win, win, win. You win because you can sleep at night, that you're not going to underperform. The customer wins, and they remember that you were a resource for them. And of course, the other people who love the fact that you referred.
Right.
I don't think we refer enough.
No.
We join chambers of commerce and others that turn into business card exchanges, lead groups that saying, who do you know, who do you know, who do you know? And I'm a big altruistic, big picture. I like that philosophy, abundance.
Right.
A friend here in the speaking business named Scott Friedman, who is probably the most abundance person I know. And he does nothing but refer people and introduce people.
Right.
And it's a great model for how to do business. So I think it's a great example.
Right. Well, and it's hard, especially if you're new in business, and or maybe if you're struggling and you're a small business owner, because you are thinking, I'm giving away business.
Right.
But, so of course, the first instinct is to say, oh, sure, I can do it. I can figure out how to do it. I mean,
right. Fake it till you make it.
Right.
And
fake it until you make it, and sometimes we can figure it out. I mean, that work on occasion.
This doesn't happen very often,
right.
so it's not really a big deal.
Yeah,
it's a smart
you
strategy.
kind of strike gold when you do that. And then you think, oh, I should have been doing that all along.
Sure.
But, for the most part, then we end up struggling with it and doing part way, halfway, mediocre. We might even do okay at it. But the problem is the client recognizes that we should have said no.
Right.
And so then they're not happy with us on the stuff we do great. And that's
or it overshadows it because they go online and post. And the reason I talk about it in the book is this is all about your reputation is your brand. You can interchange the word. And when you underperform and the customer feels it, because once again, this is all from the customer's perspective, they will tell others. It is too small a world to do poor work. So it's not generally an issue, but I think it's important to bring up.
Right. And again, it is easy just to say, you know what, we can't. And I think one of the things that people appreciate the most is when we get the no or the we can't, I want it explained, and usually then it makes sense, so back to the restaurant.
Yep.
If I'm ordering a salad and I say, hey, can I get shrimp instead of no. If they tell me we don't have any shrimp here, oh, okay. Well, that's a pretty good reason why you're not going to do it.
But they don't. And what they normally do is because I think we're hamstringing our frontline people. Is normally we get a very apologetic because the server wants a tip.
Right.
They give you the sorry, we aren't doing any of that. And then I'll ask the same questions. I'll say, why? And they'll say, they just say no substitution.
Right.
Now, do you think that frontline person would like to have accommodated?
Sure.
Of course they would.
Like you said, they want that tip.
Of course they would have, but they're told not to. I think the issue is on top. The issue is on the policies. And if we have a culture of predictability as opposed to a culture of accommodation,
right,
that really defines customer experience. Because we hear a lot, I even hear people in my business, people who traditionally taught customer service, all of a sudden they're customer experience experts. And I don't know that I even call myself an expert, but I call myself a passionate advocate. It's the same thing in the business. The people who said they were marketing experts are now branding experts,
right,
with no recognition that there was an evolution in terms of the thought process. But the experience is, it's not about wow moments.
No.
And most everybody says they talk about create these wow moments. I'm not about wow. I think they're fine, but I have a hard time celebrating that you got a wow moment a week ago Thursday, and they're going to milk it for as long as possible. Smart companies say this is who we are, and this is how we're going to treat or accommodate or facilitate and engage every customer every time at every point of contact. And that takes some work. It takes some introspection. It takes grabbing a magnifying glass, and it takes grabbing a mirror at times. But when you are able to create that and create a culture of that and create a level of consistency around that, which requires policies and culture and somebody in charge of this to make sure that it happens, then you can really develop a great reputation and a brand. But when you have those individual circumstances where somebody gets pissed off and they go and rant about it, it can undo years of great work. And it's a frustration for those in business. Listen, I'm a business owner as well, as are you. And when we have people working for us, there is sometimes there's nothing more frustrating than that frontline person that you can't control everything. But once again, your competitors deal with the same dynamic.
You know, and I think that's the thing that we all need to remember is none of us are unique. You know, our customers can go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And pay a little bit more, pay a little bit less. But it's the experience that they get in dealing with us that makes them come back.
Yeah. Did they like it? Did they feel it? Here, somebody asked me that, my book is called Why Customers Leave. And because I'm a marketing guy also, I've mentioned the name of my book multiple times.
Yeah.
And
look, we could even...
There you can hold it. Oh, you know what? While we're doing that, for those who are watching the video and looking at this, is not beer, by the way, in my glass. Just to be clear, it is A&W Diet Cream Soda. So it looks like beer, but I don't want anybody going, is that guy drinking beer while we're, no.
Right. And it's actually 9 o'clock in the morning for you.
It is 9 o'clock in the morning. So, but the book is called Why Customers Leave. And somebody asked me, because I've done a lot of interviews, and they said, if you were going to put it in one sentence, why do customers leave? And I said, because they can.
Right.
The number one reason why customers leave is because our choices are vast.
Yep.
And you may be good at what you do, for those listening or watching, but you haven't created the cure for cancer that tastes like chocolate. You're not that good. You may be very good, but the reality is we leave because we can. We live as a consumer. This is the best time in history to be a consumer because we have so many choices. You have the internet and you've multiplied it by 10 million. So today, what's really changed and why I think my message resonates and why I've been as successful as I have is because the world really has changed. And it used to be that you could win on quality.
Right.
You could win on proximity or convenience or price. And today, everybody's good. Or you wouldn't survive, or at least good enough. And
good
get out of
enough.
your mind. Yeah. If somebody's got in their mind, well, what about so-and-so? Whatever. I mean, they're not your legitimate competitors. Your legitimate competitors are all good. And I say this to audiences, organizations, unless you have more than 50% market share, which is rare, unless you have more than 50%, then you got to recognize that most customers don't choose you. Most customers choose your competitors for one simple reason, because they like them.
Right.
Because I talk to business, like, what makes you different? And they'll go like this, and they'll say, you know what makes us different? Honestly, we actually do what we say we're going to do. And then they have attitude. And I'm like, you really believe that? Do you really believe that your competitors are consistently underperforming? I was in Bangkok, Thailand, speaking for the $1 Million Roundtable, almost 10,000 insurance professionals. And I'm like, why you? What makes you? Look around. Everybody's good. They're all $1 Million producers. What I hear all the time is, this one makes me laugh, is what makes us different? We really listen to our customers. And we tailor, we really listen. I'm like, do you think your competitors don't listen? My God, wake up, grow up. If they didn't listen, they wouldn't be in business. But there's this prevailing belief that we're the only ones who are really tuned in. That's what makes us different. We listen. Like, my God, grow up. Your competitor. And here's the worst part about your competitors. The worst part for everybody listening. The worst part about your competitors is most of them are very, very nice people.
Right.
Wouldn't we love to hate them? You know what they are? They're great people. They're supporting their family. They're sending their kids to college just like you. They aren't the enemy.
Right.
They're probably be your friends if they aren't already, if they weren't a competitor. So get over that. Get over the fact that, see what it's like to do business. People really care. Everybody cares. If you didn't, you wouldn't be in business. So let's have an honest conversation. Honest conversation is people have lots of choices. They can choose anyone. People are fairly priced comparably at whatever level. What do you do differently? What do you do better?
Right.
Are you easier to do business with? Are you making it hard for people to reach you? Are you making it hard for people to talk to a real person? Because they will respond and they'll get pissed off.
Right. And it's back to what we were saying at the very start. It's that experience that they get. You know, like, was it easy to talk to them?
Yeah.
How many times have we been on the phone and, I hate getting caught in phone trees, dial one,
Oh,
dial two for you. And so pretty soon
please
I'm
listen
just
as
like
our options may
jamming
have
on
changed.
every key.
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't care who I get. I'm just going to get somebody. I'm just going to pound on the keys. And, of course, phone systems now are pretty funny. They'll hang up on you if they're
Yeah.
really sophisticated, if you start just poking.
But bean counters have convinced them that look how much money you're going to save
Right.
by
Yeah.
getting rid of your receptionist. But
Mhm.
when decisions are made, like expenditures, technology, or things, marketing needs to be in the room.
Mhm.
Sales needs to be in the room, not just
Right.
your operations
Mhm.
and your bean counters,
Mhm.
because there are ramifications.
Mhm.
But here's where companies are getting good at this, Deb, is sometimes something like that is inevitable. We hate being put on in voicemail hell or
Right.
phone tree
Or hold.
because, that's what I mean, because we don't know how long it's going to be.
Mhm.
So smart companies who will say your expected wait time is 7 minutes.
Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what? I'm okay with that too.
Sure. I'll
You
sit
know,
here and play solitaire or do whatever.
but if I was on hold and I didn't know that, and it's 4 minutes and 5 minutes, I'm
Oh,
getting
yeah.
frustrated, and 6
And
minutes.
you're thinking it's been 20, it's been.
Right. But if you manage expectations, and I know it's going to be 7 minutes, I got time to run to the bathroom.
Right.
I got time when I think, I should have done this on my cell phone, so I was mobile.
Mhm.
But managing expectations, I think, is a really good lesson for those in business as well.
Right.
Is sometimes the answer has to be no, or sometimes you have to wait. Just tell us.
Mhm.
And as you said,
Mhm.
tell us why.
Right. Yeah.
We're pretty reasonable
Mhm.
people. Just don't make us fill all that in with our own
Yeah.
our own mind,
Mhm.
because we'll come up with other.
Oh, and we do. Yeah. When we start making up the story, we never make
We'll
it
go to the
up
worst
right.
scenario.
Get back to, say you're calling your lovely cable company.
Yeah.
And, and they might even say, the wait time is 10 minutes. Okay. But then the story in my head is, well, everybody's calling, everybody's mad, everybody, and no, it's just, it was 10 minutes. Who knows? But yeah, we just, and I'm even fine with even, if they tell me due to an unexpected high demand. Okay.
Right.
But
But give me an alternative.
right. Mhm.
That's the challenge. I'm here. Let's go back to our earlier conversation
Mhm.
when we talked about contact forms. Contact forms are evil.
Mhm.
Be honest. I've got 4 small businesses. They all have contact forms,
Right.
but they also have individual cell phone numbers,
Mhm.
email addresses.
Mhm.
It's when you restrict our choices.
Mhm.
And companies pay lip service to this. Like when you go to the grocery store,
Mhm.
I'm one of these guys. I hate self-checkout because I'm terrible at it. And I'm not bad with technology, but I'm
Uh-huh.
terrible. Unexpected item, calling someone, and I'm frustrated, and I just walk away.
Mhm.
But and they're inevitable, and they're going to keep growing. And I get that.
Right.
But when companies pay lip service and they say, no, but customers want a choice. But is it choice really?
Mhm.
When you have one staffed checkout lane,
And the line is
nine carts deep,
Mhm.
and 12 self-checkout, it's not a choice.
No.
It's social engineering.
Mhm.
It's companies. I have a whole chapter on this
Right.
in the book of stop trying to make us do business with you the way you want to do
Mhm.
business.
Right.
Give us choices. I understand that you're going to have automated options. I just got
Mhm.
back from Bogota, Colombia, and it was a customer experience summit. And it was fascinating, Deb, because they were talking, their idea of customer experience is automation. And they're really big. Their big industry is what they call BPO, business process organizations.
Mhm.
It's call centers. It's offshoring. We don't
Mhm.
have, because we send our stuff overseas. Well, they're one of the
Right.
countries that have 500,000 people. So for them, customer experience is call centers, and it's
Mhm.
bots, and it's artificial intelligence, and it's chat features that are staffed by AI,
Mhm.
and every way of avoiding any kind of a human contact so
Mhm.
that we can automate those kinds of things.
Right.
Absolutely, it's where things are going. And
Mhm.
of course, my mantra and my message was don't forget the human part. Don't
Right.
forget the humanity.
Mhm.
Give them options.
Mhm.
Companies are figuring out now that you go to somewhere and you get a horrible voicemail or on hold stuff, that if you press 0 a whole bunch of times, you can talk to
You'll
a
get
real
a person eventually.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there are still organizations who will not let you talk to a real person. That gives us a bad experience. When we have a
Mhm.
bad experience, that doesn't engender loyalty and
Right.
preference and
Mhm.
promotability,
Mhm.
and then we leave.
Right.
So
And you just mentioned something that is critical,
Yep.
And that's give them options. You know, there are times where I don't want to talk to a person.
Right.
You know, or we have entire generations where the texting is what they want to do. You know, they don't want to talk to a person, and so give them that option. You know, give them the bot. Do whatever it is, but give them the various options. Now, clearly, if you know your market, which totally different conversation, and okay, you're only dealing with millennials. Okay, then you might be able to get away with a little bit something different. But people still have a couple of those other options. And you might even say, if none of these options pertain to you and you just want to talk to a person, here's the number to call.
Right.
And you talk about this in the book. One of the things, and of course we all go, oh my God, David, but I don't want to work 24 hours a day. Well, okay, there's options. You can hire somebody to be answering the phone. And obviously it depends on your business. But it's funny, there's a commercial running on the radio down here in Atlanta where, and I honestly don't remember what the business is, but they guarantee that your call will be answered in 15 seconds or less. And of course, what do I want?
I love it.
I want to get 50 people to call at the same time to see what happens. Just to see, okay, is it really going to happen? But my guess is they probably have it outsourced. So that somehow they have just a big call center. And it might just be that they answer and they say, hello, this is so-and-so. Please hold. Okay, so you got that live person.
Yeah, that's the cynic in you talking, but that's okay too. But let me ask you this, Deb. Are you more likely to call them first because you have a reasonable expectation that you won't be put on hold?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yep.
Me too. It's a wonderful differentiator.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably costs them more, but it will more than be offset by additional business.
Right.
Because here's what I've talked about for 20 years. I've talked marketing and branding and now in customer experience is the four most dangerous words in business are all things being equal.
Mm-hmm.
In our mind, when all things are equal, it's just about price.
Right. Oh yeah.
And I work with organizations. I just did a whole big thing with a big dentistry group who does very expensive implants. And I had all these people, these staff workers, and they said, people call and all they care about is the price. That's all they care about. And I said, oh no, not at all. And they said, no, you're not here answering the phone. I said, you're not getting it. They absolutely care about price. They care about quality, but they assume it. In their mind, everybody's good.
Right.
It's not that they don't care about the quality. They assume the quality. And if everybody thinks, if these people are calling, think that your dental practice is exactly the same as everybody else's, whose fault is that?
Right.
I said, that's yours because you haven't effectively differentiated.
Right.
When all things are equal, you bet it's about price. My admonition is don't let everything be equal. That's where we have an opportunity to do some things really extraordinary. Is there a traditional bottleneck in your industry at a certain point of contact? Maybe you can facilitate it. That's what gave rise to things like 2-hour appointment windows. And it was everybody thinking everybody's the same. And so my belief is that there are $1 million ideas, $1 billion ideas, and the ideas are in your own companies. And the question is, are you having some deeper conversations, looking at every point of contact and say, is that how it should be done? And in most cases, the answer is yes. But there's ideas out there saying, well, what if, or what if there's like a technology that allowed for blank, and what if they could do, because I guarantee you there are people sitting in rooms right now having those conversations, trying to do what you do different or better or faster or more engaged. And you know what we call that? We call that disruption. Now, of course, if you do it, we just call it innovation. But if it's happening to you, we call it disruption. I guarantee the taxi drivers around the world didn't.
I was just thinking about that.
By the way, every car around you.
We're going to be.
By the way, every car around you is now a taxi.
Oh yeah.
Really? And it's like, so my whole thing when I work with organizations is getting them to come up with the ideas, coming up with some crazy idea. I was working with a company that had, they did paper stores and like literally stores that sold envelopes and forms and an industry under assault. But in every disruption, there are winners. These guys were doing it well. And so we were doing exercise and have people work together at the table, say, pick a point of contact. How would you do it differently? If you have 2 years, unlimited money and technology that doesn't exist. And what one group came up with, they said, here's what we would do to the chat feature for people who are online who have a question. They said during hours, they would click chat and a camera would, a picture would come up and they would be able to talk to somebody face to face. And I said, well, that's good. People have done that. And they said, no, it's even better. The person that they're talking to is in the store.
Oh.
And I said, okay, that's good. They said, no, but the camera is on a drone.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard.
Uh-huh.
And he says, so everybody would wear like a proximity sensor so the drone couldn't get closer than 5 feet. When somebody online had a question, he would hover next to an employee and they'd look at it face to face and go, hi, can I help you? And they said, yeah, I'm looking for Avery label 40. So, yeah, I think we have that. And they'd walk and the drone
goes with them.
Yeah, and they'd point and say, this one, no, the one below it, this one. Okay, hang on a second, let me scan it. Boom, pick the quantity and go ahead and click order. Okay, thank you much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the coolest idea ever. I said, somebody's going to do that. And you know what? They're going to do it. They put together a working group. They're going to give themselves 16 months and they're going to roll that out. They would never have thought of that had they not said, let's take a step back.
Right.
Let's take a day off the calendar and go meet as a team and look at every point of contact and say, how are people going to want to do business with us next year or the year after?
Right.
And if you, for those listening in business, if you can envision how people are going to want to do business differently at a particular point of contact, you be the ones to innovate that. That's the funnest part about my job is to help be that catalyst to spur organizations. The ideas are coming from them. I'm the one challenging them. Right. I'm the one giving them some hard questions. And of course it's entertaining and I'm funny as well.
Well, and it doesn't matter if you are a company of 10,000 or a company of 1. I mean, you know, we need to be looking at ourselves. And it's funny, you know, because as I was reading your book, there were there were more than several things where I thought, oh, I could do that better. You know, and I mean, one of the things, answering the phone, I am really bad about letting it go into voicemail.
Right.
Because spam, you know, and I get all these calls. Well, you know, they're not leaving messages. And so of course my thought was, must have been spam.
Must have been spam. Right.
And of course, after I read the book, I thought, oh no.
Question, do you leave messages?
Want to leave a message.
Yeah, I don't. I just, if somebody isn't there, because I don't assume that they're going to get it because I travel so much. Sometimes I'm not back in my office for 16 days. I just hang up and then I try and reach them a different way. If it's important. But once again, the biggest source of lost revenue is the customer you never knew about.
Right. Yeah. You know, and I mean, it would take me less than 10 seconds to answer that call, figure out it's spam and hang up.
Right.
You know, but yeah, I mean, how many times have I missed somebody who just didn't want to leave a message? And so they're going to go to the next person on their list.
Right. Because they can.
Yeah.
Because they can. And so that's the stuff that we think about. I have a colleague here in Denver that actually got me into the speaking business 20 years ago. And he told me that he had called me actually as a publicist and I got him some press. And he says, do you know why I hired you? And I said, no, why? He says, because when I called you and you answered the phone, you said, you know, I've got something I'm on my desk. Can you give me 30 seconds to get it off my plate so I can give you my undivided attention? And I said, did I say that? And he says, yeah. And Deb, do you know how many times I've said it since then? Hundreds. Right. Because I knew that made him feel, as opposed to trying to pretend that I'm like, right. And I'm trying to do two things at once. Multitasking, not always a good thing.
We're horrible at it.
Yeah. Because all we're doing, especially if we're engaging with somebody, once again, customer experience, they're feeling like they're getting half our attention. We've seen those 16-year-olds on the front line who are texting or Instagramming or snap facing or link chatting or
all those things.
I know. My kids are funny. They're like, oh God, you don't get it. You still don't get it. I said, oh, no. I teach it.
Right.
Trust me.
And some of it I don't want to get.
and I have 5 times more followers. And like, shut up, Dad. You know.
Yeah.
But that kind of engagement is just more important than ever. You know, they said, why is it getting worse? It's getting worse because we're trying so hard to be smart in our businesses. Nobody's trying to offend or annoy our customers. We're just trying to be good at what we do and be predictable. And my message is there's just got to be a balance.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, speaking of balance, one of the things you talk about in your book are emails that go out, you know, the mass emails that go out.
The worst.
You know, and I always love it when I get one that's addressed to somebody else. I'm like, or to Deborah. I'm like, okay, they pulled my name off of LinkedIn.
Right.
You know, and they might have great information, but because I looked at that and went, nope, It really wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I
You
don't
already
care.
dismissed it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we still have to send out informational type of things,
Right.
but it can be, that like I send them out and I say, okay, here's who the guests were on my program, things like that.
Right. But you make a good point. There's a place and time for automation. There's a whole chapter on this.
Mhm.
That the promise of the internet, of course, was instead of having to print and physically mail, so cheap we can email mass.
Right.
I get approached a couple of times a week.
Mhm.
I can help you automate your marketing. I'm like, I don't want to automate my marketing.
No.
But you were right, Deb.
Mhm.
There is a time when it's just communication, outflow,
Mhm.
sending bills, sending your newsletter.
Right.
And the mass email is a wonderful, but if you're looking for engagement and persuasion, do not automate.
Right.
They have Infusionsoft. We call it Confusionsoft or Salesforce.
Oh.
You can be very efficient, but not very effective. And
No.
don't delude yourself in saying, well, look how much money I made from it.
Mhm.
You have no idea how many people you could have influenced if it had been just a bit more personalized.
Right. And we look at the numbers. We go, ooh, 20% opened it. Well, okay, that
How
means
many converted?
80% didn't.
Yeah. Well, 20% is actually not bad if you can
Right.
get that.
Mhm.
We do stuff. I use BombBomb, which is a horrible name for a great company that does video email. So those listening, BOMB, tell them that I told them, David Avrin. But it's video email. And it's awesome because I'll do it on my screen because it's trackable.
Right.
I can see who opened it. I see how long they watched it. And I'll just, if I'm a finalist for a speaking gig, I'll just do it on my screen. 3, 2, 1. Hi, Jennifer. David Avrin, marketing customer experience. I know you've been talking to Tiffany. I think I'm a great fit for your event coming in October. Let's find a way to work together. Here's what I do. And then I send it off.
Right.
It's personalized. It's their name.
Yeah.
And our response rate is
Oh, I
unbelievable.
bet. I bet.
I mean, our
as
conversion
opposed to
rate is
the-
like 90%.
Yeah, the standard email that goes out, and I get these all the time from people who want to be on the program. I get a one sheet, on the potential guest. Okay,
Right.
I'm not going to open that. That's not the information I asked for. And what really gets me though is when it's very clear that they have never ever not only not listened to the program, they've never even gone to the website. And
Right.
I had somebody the other day that said, now, I want to do this via Zoom. I mean, and she was just adamant, and she's an upcoming guest, and I had to, for a moment, because everywhere on our website, sometimes in big bold letters, and in our communications, everything is done by Zoom.
Right. Oh, so what'd she want to do? Skype? Because you said Zoom.
No, she wanted to Zoom.
Oh, she wanted, that's
hadn't
great.
read anything that we had sent, and and
Right.
it was like, but
She didn't realize you're already in alignment because
Yeah.
she hasn't done the work.
right, and so how much time does it take to have done that? To have given that little personal touch, and especially, when you're asking people to spend money with you.
Absolutely. People that like them,
Mhm.
right? I say it's, business like high school. We do
Right.
business with people we like and people we know. This is going to be my next book. People are always asking, what's the next one? It's like, it's like, I just had a baby. Please don't ask me if I'm going to have another one.
Give
But,
me a minute.
but this book is why customers leave. And the next book is so obviously going to be why customers stay.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
and I'm going to feature best practices of companies that really do
Mhm.
not a wow moment, but extraordinary at as who they are.
Mhm.
And that they've picked something really extraordinary that they do, that they
Right.
become known for it, and they become consistent. And those that don't, whether it's the cleanliness at a Disney or Singapore or something else.
Mhm.
But I want to but real examples, and some of these great conversations help elicit
Mhm.
that. But right now, it's really about being a wake-up call for organizations, saying, don't lose focus on the quality of what you do,
Mhm.
but take a step back and ask if you are easy to do business with.
Mhm.
And are we doing it the way you want or the way we
Right,
want,
right.
and accommodate when you
Mhm.
can.
Mhm. And it's not just at the start. It's, are you easy to do business through the whole thing? I mean,
And a year later,
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, are we still wooing it's just like a romantic relationship. You get
Right.
complacent.
Mhm.
Your biggest risk is somebody who wants to take your longtime customer
Mhm.
and turn them into their first time customer.
And
And
obviously it happens all the time.
it does. Well, it's the people like, oh, they love us. They're great. It's another exercise that I do when I'm working with organizations. I say, list everything that you do to attract a new customer. What do you call them? What do you say? What do you say to them when you do? What do you give them in special gifts or incentives?
Mhm.
How much of that are you doing at 6 months
Right.
and at 1 year
Mhm.
and at 2 years
Mhm.
And at 3 years, those people are so vulnerable to somebody else coming in and stealing them away, even if it's just a better price.
Yeah. I mean, example, big cable companies, a new customer gets this and this and this and this and this, but me, who's been with them for 20 years, gets my rates raised.
Right. I tell a story, and I was, as I try to make the stories come to life in the book, is I try and come up with examples. And one of them I thought about was when I was, when I was a little kid. I remember going to the bank with my dad, and for those of us who remember premiums for new accounts, and I remember pointing and saying, why do they have a toaster at the bank? And he says, oh, that's a gift for new customers.
Right.
And I said, that's cool. I said, do we get a toaster? He says, no, those are only for new customers. And I said, well, what do we get?
Right.
And he says, nothing. And he handed me a lollipop, which makes me smile that was a big deal. You open up new and you get a toaster.
Right. I remember those.
But it's a great lesson. It's a great lesson for all of us.
Right.
Is don't, and I used to run Vistage CEO roundtable groups, and we'd have this conversation saying, when was the last time you interviewed your current customers of saying, why do you do business with us? What do we do well? What do you like? And there was a real trepidation asking that, because they didn't want them to say, why are you doing that? Well, I don't know. Why are we doing business?
Yeah. Let's wait a minute. Maybe
Jennifer, put that out to bid
somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. Put that out to bid. And so, yeah, it's a tough question, but it's a great one to ask. Right. Because you get some really good feedback.
Yep. Oh my gosh, David, we have filled the hour. In fact, we've gone past the hour, but we love this. We love this. And we've been talking about your book, which is Why Customers Leave and How to Win Them Back. But tell people how they find you and connect with you online.
Sure. Well, the book, of course, is available everywhere, and it's on audiobook and Kindle and everything else. So look it up. The really exciting thing is they just sold the rights. It's going to come out in Russian and Chinese and Spanish, and they're doing an English version that they're releasing this summer in India. So really excited for my my international travels to my 25th country. So you can find that book anywhere in my other ones. Otherwise, look me up. It's David Avrin, Avrin, davidavrin.com. And of course, on all the social media and everything else on Instagram, it's the real David Avrin, because unfortunately there's some fake David Avrin.
There's some others?
But yeah, but for those listening as well, listen, unless I am on stage, I respond to emails. So it's david@davidavrin.com. If you have a question, look me up. If something I can help you with, happy to do so. I used to say, unless I was on stage or on a plane, but now they have Wi-Fi, unless it's United, it's horrible Wi-Fi, but I will respond. So, but what a great treat to catch up with my old friend, and I love watching
It is. Can't wait to talk about your next book, so that will be fun. And at some point, I'll be back in Colorado, and maybe you'll be there at the same time. I think that's been the problem, is we've kind of crossed purposes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you're probably through at the Atlanta airport fairly often too. So
I am everywhere, and then and people can also look at my podcast. It's called the Very Visible Business Podcast.
Perfect. I love it, because you are the visibility coach.
That's what I do. Thank you much.
I love it. Well, I am Deb Creer. I've been having an absolutely delightful time talking with my friend David Avrin. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us next time for more real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
You've been listening to C-Suite Radio. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.